Terrorist attacks continue to rattle Kenya. At least 12 people were killed in northern Kenya on Monday after being ambushed by suspected members of al-Shabaab. The attack came just one day after Kenyan warplanes bombed the Somali bases of the militant group and blasted an explosive-making compound at Jilib, 300 kilometers of southwest of Mogadishu. At least 10 people were killed and 103 others injured by two explosives in Nairobi on Friday. The blasts came after the United States, Britain and other Western governments issued travel advisories warning their citizens against visiting Kenya due to an increase in terror attacks. The East African nation, which sent its troops into Somalia in October 2011 to pursue the militants, has suffered a string of gun, bomb and grenade attacks that it blames on al-Shabaab. Now, for more on the increasing insecurity in Kenya, I'm joined by Jean Kamau, Kenya's ambassador to the United States. Ambassador Kamau, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you.
Now, Kenya is not very pleased with this travel advisories that have been issued by the United States, Britain and other Western nations. Why?
Well, because we feel that the travel advisories were not necessary at this time, because all efforts had been put in place to provide the safety and security of our citizens and all our visitors. And in fact, the countries that issued the advisories were working very well with the government on these efforts. They are some of our partners on security and safety issues, because terrorism is not peculiar to Kenya. It's a regional challenge, and the peace and security of Kenya is connected to the peace and security of the region. So we feel that this is a fact that was well known to these countries. We're working together very well with them to address these challenges. So the advisories have come at the back of an issue that we feel was not necessary, and that efforts were still in place to continue working together.
Mm-hmm. But now some will say, well, since the since the mall attack last year, there has been only an escalation of these attacks up to this point, and some are thinking perhaps Kenya is not doing a great job stemming these attacks. What's your response?
Well, I wouldn't agree with that, because this is an ongoing effort. The safety and security of our nation is something that is a priority for our country. Our security forces are up to the task, up to the challenge of providing security. The level of an escalation of the crime that we've witnessed is changing, but we are also well aware that this is a challenge that we're up to. And despite what you've said, that since the Westgate attack, that there's been an escalation. Actually, there's been a response to mitigate what would be even a worse scenario in some situations. So we feel that that we're on top of the challenge that our country is facing, and working with our partners in the region, in the East African region, and in fact the IGAD and the AU, that we're addressing the security challenges.
But if you come to very specific things, what are those measures that you can say have been put in place to reassure somebody who is just about to buy a ticket and come to Kenya so they can believe it is safe for them to be there?
Well, first of all, there's enhanced surveillance and efforts at the border points and even within the towns to ensure that citizens and visitors alike feel protected, and they can move about their business without fear, and that there's a visible presence of security officers to ensure that people's security is paramount. Secondly, all our agencies, the law enforcement agencies, are working round the clock all the time to provide advisories to the local citizens, when there's an upscale of a threat, what citizens need to be aware of, to be more alert around their surroundings, so that they cooperate. There's increased cooperation and enhancement and partnership between citizens and the security officers.
Now, some were saying, well, al-Shabaab seems to be widening its network within the country. Is this accurate, and how does this change the game plan?
Well, al-Shabaab is a threat to our national security. There's no doubt about that. They have made a case that they will attack Kenya, and they have joined forces with al-Qaeda and have even issued and have pledged allegiance to al-Qaeda, which is something that is in the public domain, and that they have threatened the state of Kenya, and that they have said they will disrupt economic activity. So we are well aware of their stated objectives, and that the challenge that al-Shabaab threatens not just Kenya, but even other countries like Uganda, and countries which are actively in Somalia at the moment in an effort to stabilize the country. So we're aware that al-Shabaab is a threat to our security, and we're working to mitigate and to stem that threat.
And that actually it's spreading the network. It's getting wider.
It's spreading. I wouldn't agree that it's spreading, but it is a known threat to the region and to our country.
Okay. Now, very briefly, in the crackdown against the suspected terrorists, the country, the Kenyan government has come under criticism for human rights violations, especially against refugees of Somali origin. Is the government reviewing the way it's conducting the operation?
Yeah, let me assure you that this operation, as you've made reference to, which was known as Usalama Watch, which is basically an effort by the government to respond to the type of violence and criminal activity that we witnessed in the urban areas. And it was the responsibility of the government to do something. And the response was to verify the identity of foreigners who were living within the urban boundaries of Nairobi and out of the city. We've even gone to other towns to verify that there were not criminal elements that were taking advantage of their documented presence to cause mayhem. And those refugees who were not supposed to be in the urban centers were sent back to the camps. Now, just to verify that this effort did not target members of one ethnic or tribal community, but actually addressed a cross range of foreigners who were in the country. It even included American citizens, people from New Zealand, people from Nigeria, people from Uganda. So it affected a cross section of people who were in Kenya, whose identity had to be verified. So just to confirm that, and all efforts were taken by the government to ensure it was humanely done, and that we addressed all the concerns of those who were subjected to this verification exercise.
Well, this conversation is not over yet.
I'm sure
although
it's not.
Although our time is up right now. Ambassador Kamau, thank you very much. Well, Jean Kamau is the Kenyan ambassador to the United States. We thank her for coming in today.